Hello everyone. Tonight we're going to step into a world where your bed creaks with every wave. The air smells like rum, salt, and something suspiciously cabbage adjacent. And keeping a pistol under your pillow isn't just for show. It might be the only reason you wake up alive. You're aboard a brig called the Morning Lament, though nobody remembers why it's named that. Maybe it's because every morning feels like a lament. You're halfway between Barbados and a bad decision, and the sails overhead groan like they've got something to confess. This ship is your home now. Not a cozy home, not the kind with curtains or a kettle, but a wood-planked, rat-riddled coffin that floats. And tonight, just like every other night, you're curling up in a hammock you share with your own regrets. It sways gently, unless someone stumbles into it during their 4th round of midnight rum, which is often. Your pistol is tied to the post, but your hand never strays far from it. Not because you expect a fight, but because fights tend to arrive when you least expect them. Your blanket. That's a lie. You have a salt-stiffened shirt and maybe, if you're lucky, a bit of old canvas that doesn't smell too much like fish. Your pillow is your boots. If you still have both boots, you're doing better than half the crew. It's hot, sticky, and there's a steady clatter from the galley, where the cook is boiling something in a pot that once held nails. The smell alone could flatten a goat. And here's the truth. You might not survive this. Between the sea, the captain's moods, and that mysterious rash that's spreading along your shin, things aren't exactly trending in a positive direction. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you really like what I'm doing here. And if you're still awake enough, post your location and what time it is where you're watching. It's always fun to see who else is drifting off in the dark. Now, turn off the lights. Let the gentle hum of the fan surround you, and let yourself drift quietly into tonight's story. You're in the lower deck, not the lowest deck. That's where the rats hold parliament, but close. There's enough headroom to hunch, enough air to breathe, and just enough space between you and the ceiling beams to avoid a concussion unless you stand up too fast. The night creaks. Literally, everything creaks. The wood, the ropes, the bones of the old gunner who hasn't moved since sunset. You listen to the sound of the sea slapping the hull like an angry drunk, and you think, this is peaceful. Sort of. Your crewmates are snoring like tortured bears. One of them mutters in his sleep, something about gold. The other has dreams so vivid he often wakes up punching. This is why you keep your hammock high, your knife nearby, and your pistol dry. Historians still debate whether pirates actually slept with their pistols. Some say it's nonsense, just a bit of literary flair. Others say it was common practice. But you? You don't care what the historians think. You've seen too many close calls to go to bed unarmed. The pistol isn't just protection from outsiders. It's for them, the crew. You love them like brothers. If your brothers were sweaty, violent, and prone to biting. It's said that the worst danger on a pirate ship isn't the navy or storms or cannonballs. It's boredom. Bored pirates start fights. Drunk pirates finish them. And you'd rather not be on the wrong end of either. So you sleep with one eye open. Figuratively, of course, Try doing it literally, and you'll wake up with sand in your cornea and a headache the size of a mizzenmast. Every pirate ship develops its own rhythm, a lullaby of movement, groans, whispers, and the occasional, "Where's my other toe?" The ship breathes around you, wood shifting against wood, the sea murmuring old gossip just beyond the hull. The captain snores like he's wrestling a bear in his dreams. Somewhere near the quarterdeck, a musician softly strums a broken lute. It's missing 2 strings, but nobody minds. Pirates have never been picky about their lullabies. You think about land sometimes, not fondly, just curiously. What was it like to sleep on something that didn't move? What was it like to eat something green that wasn't moldy? No one really talks about homesickness out here. It's a weakness. But in the quiet, between waves, when everyone else is out cold, you let yourself miss the scent of clean linen and whatever that stew was your grandmother used to make. You even miss her lectures. Out here, sleep isn't restful. It's defensive. You nap like a cat, one ear cocked for trouble, and it's never long before something disturbs the peace. A crash above deck, a shouted curse, the unmistakable clunk of a barrel falling over. Probably rum, hopefully not your last stash of cabbage. You sigh, roll over, and pretend it's not your problem. Yet, this is the pirate's night. Warm, itchy, filled with the sounds of nightmares and creaking ropes. A night where even the moon seems to keep its distance. You adjust your pistol, tuck it under your hammock rope, and let the slow sway of the ship cradle you back toward something like rest. Not peace, never peace, but something close enough. You're nobody important, not yet. You're the quartermaster's cabin boy, which sounds a lot fancier than it is. The truth? You clean up his spills, sort his dice, run his messages, and make sure no one steals his last hunk of salted pork. He's got a bad temper and a worse sense of humor, but he hasn't hit you in 3 days, so that's a record. Your quarters, if you can call them that, are a little nook beside his cabin, where you sleep between a barrel of pickled onions and something that used to be a goat. You don't ask questions anymore. The quartermaster is second only to the captain in rank, and unlike the captain, he's elected. That means people actually like him, or fear him, or both. He's in charge of discipline, rations, and, lucky you, delegating everything he doesn't want to do. That's how you ended up cleaning a pistol with a rag that smells like squid ink and old socks. It's not loaded. You're not trusted with bullets. But you polish it anyway. It's part of the ritual. Your job changes by the hour. One moment you're patching a torn sail. The next you're fetching cabbage from the galley. You dream of promotion, of course. Maybe someday you'll be the guy giving the orders. But for now, your biggest decision is whether to sleep sitting up so you don't wake up with a rat in your collar. The cook shouts for you again, always shouting. He says your name like it's an insult. Get me the small barrel, not the big one, you lob-livered limpet. You fetch it. It leaks. Of course it leaks. You get pickle juice all over your shirt. This is your 3rd shirt. You've learned not to grow attached. There's a strange camaraderie on the ship. Everyone insults each other constantly, but in a weirdly affectionate way. If someone stops insulting you, that's when you start to worry. That usually means they've decided you're probably going to die soon, and it's not worth the emotional investment. Still, there are moments, small ones, like when old Cobb, the grizzled helmsman with the wooden teeth, showed you how to tie a double bowline with one hand, or when the quartermaster let you keep the extra biscuit instead of taking it for himself. Historians still debate whether pirate ships truly operated as floating meritocracies, where skill meant more than birth. Some say the romance of pirate equality is overblown, but on nights like this, when the stars hang low and the sails flap like ghostly wings, you almost believe it. You're learning. Not just nods and curses and how to dodge a fistfight. You're learning how to read the sea, how to tell when a storm's coming by the smell of the wind, how to listen to the ship's groans and know if it's just settling or if something important just snapped. There's a rhythm to pirate life. Mornings are chaotic, afternoons sluggish, and nights long and strange. And every few days, someone gets thrown overboard, not always dead. Usually, the quartermaster calls for you again, and you scurry back into the lantern glow of his cabin. He's counting coins, always counting coins. He claims to be honest, but somehow he's always just slightly richer than anyone else. "You've been practicing with the pistol?" he asks without looking up. You nod. "Good, keep doing it. Never trust a man who doesn't sleep with one. You don't ask why. You've heard the stories. A man caught snoring during a mutiny. Another who lost half his face when his hammock buddy had a nightmare. Safety is personal here. You keep your secrets, your blade sharp, and your boots near your head. You never leave your belt too far from reach. That night, while you're scraping dried fish scales off the deck, you hear a whisper. Two crewmen crouched near a barrel, arguing softly. You pretend not to listen, but of course you do. They're talking about jumping ship at the next cove. Something about a buried stash. Or maybe a woman. Or maybe just a life that doesn't smell like rope and mildew. You don't judge them. You've had the same thoughts, but you know better. There's no escape that doesn't cost blood. The sea doesn't give refunds. Back in your corner, you stretch out on the wooden floor beside your hammock, still soaked from last night's rain through the whole crack, and try to fall asleep. You hold your pistol close, the way others might hold a teddy bear. And just before your eyes close, you hear it, that faint sound. Not the wind, not the water. A whisper of steel being drawn, somewhere below. You freeze, but nothing follows. Maybe it was nothing. Maybe. You wake to shouting, as usual. But this time, it's different. There's panic in the voices. Heavy boots above. The clatter of a musket dropped in haste. Someone curses in French, which is always a bad sign. You swing out of your hammock too fast and nearly headbutt a beam. Your pistol, your lovely, slightly rusty, sometimes working pistol, is already in your hand before your feet hit the floor. Because here's the rule. Never assume it's nothing. That whisper last night, it wasn't the wind. The quartermaster bursts in, shirt half buttoned, hair a mess, blade drawn. He sees you standing there, eyes wide, pistol up, and for once, he looks impressed. "Thought I'd find you still snoring," he mutters. "Come on." You scramble after him. Above deck, the sun hasn't risen yet, but the sky's a deep cobalt smear. Crew members are gathered at the starboard rail, pointing. Some are armed, some are just confused. Then you see it, another ship, close, too close. It's not flying colors, no flag, no signal, just a dark hull and a silence that feels wrong. Your heart thuds. This isn't a Royal Navy ship. Those clank and shout and run up flags like they're in a parade. This is a ghost, drifting closer without a word. The captain appears, barking orders. He's barefoot, wrapped in a coat that's seen better decades. His eyes squint against the dark, trying to make out details. And suddenly it's gone. The ship. It turns in the wind and fades into mist like a bad memory. No one speaks for a while, then the cook breaks the silence. Bad omen, he mutters, clutching his apron like a talisman. Historians still debate whether pirates genuinely believed in ghost ships, or if it was just the rum talking. But right now, no one's in the mood to argue. You return below deck, blood still rushing in your ears. That's why pirates sleep with pistols, not just for traders, but for nightmares that turn out to be real. You try to settle back into sleep, but it's no good. The hammock creaks, your shirt is damp, and your thoughts are louder than cannon fire. So you climb up to the main deck again. The wind has changed. You taste salt and rain. Someone hands you a piece of pickled cabbage. Breakfast. It's not terrible if you enjoy chewing wet leather with a vinegar aftershock. But it keeps, and that's what matters. Pickled food is a pirate's best friend. Fresh meat, gone in 2 days. Bread, molded in 3. But cabbage? You can drop that stuff in seawater, fish it out, and it still has attitude. The galley smells like sour dreams. Barrels of preserved everything. Salty brine sloshing with the waves. Once, you tried to ask the cook how long that cabbage had been there. He just stared at you and said, "Longer than you've been alive, sweetheart." You eat it anyway, because hunger is realer than fear, and yet there's a strange comfort to it. The same meal, the same rituals. You chew, stare at the horizon, and listen to the ship groan as if it's talking in its sleep. The sun breaks through a slit in the clouds. Just for a second, the sea glows gold. It's beautiful. And then it's gone, swallowed back into blue-gray loneliness. You think about the pistol again. You always do. Some crews sleep with it tied to their chest. Others keep it under the pillow. One guy stitched a holster into his hammock so he could draw while still horizontal. You tried that once. You shot your pillow. It didn't end well. But it's not just for show. Every pirate has enemies, sometimes even himself. Drunken fights, mistaken identities, paranoid dreams. On a ship like this, your pistol isn't just for protection, it's reassurance. A metal whisper that says, "You're still in control." You clean it often, almost lovingly. It's part of your nightly routine. Pistol, then hammock, then drift into uneasy sleep under stars that don't care if you wake up again. One night, you saw the gunner kiss his flintlock before bed. You laughed. He didn't. "Better than kissing a knife in your ribs," he said. Fair point. Later that day, you hear about a crewmate who tried to steal someone's boots. He's got a cracked nose and a limp now, but he's alive because he was fast. Not smart, but fast. You learn quickly. Respect is earned, not given. And on a pirate ship, It's often earned at gunpoint. You pass the cannon deck. A rat scurries past, fat and smug. Nobody even tries to catch them anymore. They're part of the crew now. You even named one of them, Captain Cheddar. He's probably eaten better than you. The hammock calls again. You return to it slowly, body heavy, mind heavier. The pistol rests beneath your chest, cool against your ribs. And somewhere, just as your eyelids fall, you hear it again, the sea's breath. Steady, indifferent, eternal. Cabbage, again. You're not surprised. It's always cabbage. Some form of it. Boiled, brined, mashed, pickled. Or, on the rare occasion when the cook is feeling experimental, burned into something that might have once been soup. And you know what? It's starting to grow on you. Not because it's good. It's absolutely not good. But because it's predictable. In a world where the weather tries to kill you, the sails scream like tortured spirits, and the captain could change course on a coin toss, pickled cabbage is stable. It clings to everything, your breath, your sleeves, your dreams. You once woke up thinking you were drowning in a barrel of vinegar. The cook claims it prevents scurvy, which might be true, might be superstition. Historians still debate whether fermented cabbage was truly effective or just the last edible thing left on board. Either way, your gums haven't bled in weeks, so that's probably good. This morning, you're on kitchen duty. Technically, it's called galley watch, but really it just means keeping the fire stoked and stirring whatever's in the pot. You peek in, yep, cabbage stew, with what you hope is a chunk of salted pork. Your hands are already stained with brine. Your shirt smells like seaweed, and you're pretty sure your left boot has become semi-sentient from the number of mushrooms growing in it. The quartermaster sticks his head in. Weevils in the biscuit barrel again. Tell the cook to sort it. You nod, but he's already gone. Weevils are a fact of life. You eat around them. You name the big ones. You flick the small ones into the ocean and pretend they don't crawl back up the side of the ship. You remember your first day on board, how the older pirates cackled when you hesitated over eating bread that moved. Extra protein, they said. You laughed then. Now, you just chew faster. Meal done, you stagger out into the morning light. The sun hits you like a cannonball to the face. You squint, shielding your eyes. Everything's too bright, too loud. The ship rocks gently, sails flapping with the soft indifference of old linen. A few crewmates lounge by the mainmast, darning socks or carving odd little shapes into driftwood. One's humming a sea shanty. You don't recognize it, but the rhythm is soothing. You join them for a moment, sitting cross-legged on the warm planks. Someone offers you a bit of rum. You sip. It burns. Always burns. But the aftertaste is almost sweet, if you ignore the hint of tar. You think about how normal this has become, how waking up to shouting and chewing on moldy biscuits is your reality now. And you realize something horrifying. You're getting used to it. It's a strange kind of peace. The ship floats through empty blue like a forgotten prayer. No land in sight. No storms on the horizon. Just wind, water, and that ever-present smell of cabbage. Then shouting again. You leap to your feet, half expecting another ghost ship, but no, it's worse. It's a fight. Two crew members are wrestling near the bow. Someone's accused someone else of stealing a knife. They're screaming, spitting, blood. One of them pulls a flintlock. You flinch, reach for your own. It's instinct now. But the quartermaster appears out of nowhere, shoves a barrel between them, and knocks the gun from the man's hand before anyone can fire. Just another Tuesday. The captain appears a moment later, shirtless, holding a mop. He looks at the mess and sighs. No one's dying before lunch, he growls. That's a rule. You pocket your pistol, heart still racing. This is the other reason pirates slept armed. Fights broke out over nothing. Over cards, over boots, over who got the dry hammock. And if you weren't ready to defend yourself, well, someone else was. Later, you sit in your nook and oil the flintlock. It's not fancy. The barrel's scratched, the trigger wobbles a little, and you're not entirely convinced it won't misfire and take off your hand someday, but it's yours. You check the powder, dry, good. You check the flint, still sharp. You think of it as an extension of yourself now, a metal guardian, a little prayer with a spark. And here's the irony. Pirates feared each other more than they feared the Navy, because you knew the Navy would kill you quickly, but a crewmate, they'd poison your cabbage. That night, you sleep with a pistol cradled in your hands. Not because you expect anything, but because it's the only comfort you've got. The hammock sways. The moon peeks in through the hatch. And somewhere above, someone starts singing again. Soft, slow, wordless. The sea rocks the ship like a cradle, and you close your eyes, breathing in salt, wood, and of course, cabbage. You dream of land, not home, just land. Something solid. You don't even care if it has cabbage. Let's talk about the water. Not the kind lapping gently at the side of the ship, reflecting moonlight like a silver mirror. No, the other kind. The stuff in barrels. The stuff you're supposed to drink. Except, surprise, it's not water anymore. It used to be. Months ago. But after weeks of sloshing around in sun-warmed wood, it's more like a cross between soup stock and foot wash. You open a barrel this morning and immediately regret having a nose. It smells like old rope, vinegar, and something faintly resembling mushroom stew. And yes, you still drink it. Because you're thirsty. And because rum is for the lucky or the violent. You take a gulp. Try not to taste it. Try not to imagine what's floating in there. A beetle, a toenail. Regret. Who knows? Historians still debate whether pirates truly relied on fresh water, or if they mostly lived off beer and wine. Evidence points both ways, but you know the answer. You drink just enough not to die. The water situation is so grim that the ship's motto might as well be, "Dehydration builds character." Some of the old-timers even call the barrels death tea. And that's where cabbage comes in again. Pickled cabbage holds liquid. It's salty, sour, and strangely hydrating. It also makes you burp like a thunderclap, but nobody notices, because everyone else is doing it too. You carry your own cup now, a chipped wooden mug you carved your initials into, mostly so no one else uses it, not that it helps. Someone's always borrowing it. Last week, you caught the cook using it to scoop lard. You cried a little inside. Still, it beats going dry, because when the water runs low, and it will run low, you get desperate. People start licking dew off ropes, chewing seaweed. One guy tried drinking seawater once. Once, you walk past the quartermaster who's standing at the bow, arms crossed, eyes scanning the horizon like it owes him money. "Storm's coming," he mutters. You look up. The sky's still clear, but you've learned not to argue. These men can smell trouble like dogs smell bacon. Storms mean danger, but they also mean water. Rain barrels get lashed to the deck. You all scramble for cups. You catch what you can, drink what you catch, and ignore the taste of seagull droppings. One time, during a squall, you filled your boots with rain, drank from them too. You were proud of that. You told the crew. They've called you Boots ever since. You hated it at first, but now it's better than rat bait, which is what the last cabin boy was called before he, well, you don't ask. Around midday, the sun goes from mildly threatening to actively vengeful. The deck heats up like a griddle. You can fry an egg on it if you had eggs. You don't. You have cabbage. You try to stay in the shade, but there's not much of it. A sail, a barrel, the shadow of someone taller than you. You sweat through your shirt. Your socks squelch. You wipe your brow with a sleeve already soaked with brine, grease, and regret. And you still have to drink the water. It gets so bad that someone invents a game. Guess what's floating? Rules are simple. You look into a barrel, take a guess, then fish it out with a spoon. If you're right, you win a biscuit. If you're wrong, you eat it anyway. You play once. As the day drags on, the crew grows quieter. Everyone's thinking the same thing. We need a port, or a miracle. Someone mentions Tortuga. Someone else says it's crawling with spies. Another says Port Royal's a better bet. You say nothing. You're still thinking about the water. You try to remember what real water tasted like. A river, a well, rain on your tongue as a kid. It's hard to recall. Everything smells like salt now, even memories. Later, you help lash a rain tarp to the deck. It's old, torn, patched with bits of sailcloth and optimism, but it might catch enough to fill a barrel or two. You're not picky. You drink from a puddle at this point. The quartermaster hands you a knife. "Cut a hole near the center," he says. "Let it drain into the catch." You nod. "Do as told." He pats your shoulder. "Good lad." That's the highest praise you've had all month. That night, you lie in your hammock, lips dry, eyes burning. Your pistol is under your chest. Your cup is tucked into your belt. And you dream of rain. Not storms, just soft rain. And a clean cup of water that doesn't fight back. It starts with a sound. A low, distant boom. Too deep to be thunder, too hollow to be cannon fire. You jolt awake in your hammock, heart doing its best impression of a war drum. The ship rocks gently. The stars above are still out, winking like they're in on the joke. But something's off. You sit up, the hammock swinging beneath you. Your pistol's already in your hand. It's not even a thought anymore. It's a reflex. Then comes the whispering. Not voices. Not exactly. More like the wind muttering secrets through the sails. You strain to listen. There's something about it that curls into your spine. Something ancient. You climb onto deck barefoot, stepping lightly, like the wood might snap if you breathe too hard. The others are up too, some staring at the sea, some rubbing their eyes, some clutching weapons with white knuckles. The sky has shifted. The moon is lower than it should be. The stars wrong somehow. And there, rising from the mist like a bad omen with a flair for drama, is a shape. A ship. It doesn't move like a real ship. It glides, effortless, silent, as though the wind obeys it. You blink, others do too. Nobody speaks. And then it's gone, dissolved like sugar in rain. What in the name of Neptune's socks was that? Someone whispers. No one answers. No one needs to. Everyone knows. The ghost ship. You've heard the stories. Everyone has. A vessel cursed to sail forever, crewed by shadows, never docking, never dying. Historians still debate whether sightings of phantom ships were tricks of the light, hallucinations from dehydration, or something less explainable. But you saw it. And that night, nobody sleeps, except the cook, who can sleep through cannon fire and once napped during a fistfight. Morning comes reluctantly. The sky is too blue, too clean, like it's pretending nothing happened. The crew is silent. Breakfast is even quieter. Cabbage again, of course. You chew without tasting, eyes fixed on the sea, watching for ripples that don't belong. You start noticing things. A rope untied that shouldn't be. A barrel moved 3 inches to the left. Your boots, damp when they shouldn't be. You don't say anything. You just keep your pistol closer. Later that day, a seagull lands on the railing. It has one eye, no beak, and it stares at you like it knows your name. You're too tired to scream. You tell yourself it's all stress, that you haven't had enough clean water, that the cabbage has fermented into hallucinations. But the other pirates are twitchy too, jumping at shadows, muttering prayers they haven't used since childhood. One guy paints his face with tar to ward off spirits. Another refuses to go below deck, sleeps in the crow's nest instead. The quartermaster shrugs it off, but you catch him tracing something into the wood with his thumb. A symbol. A ward. Maybe. The captain pretends he doesn't care, but the rum disappears faster than usual. And that night, he orders 2 lanterns lit instead of 1. You sleep with your pistol balanced on your chest and a cabbage leaf tucked into your shirt for luck. You dream of voices in the water, singing. In the dream, you're floating, peaceful. Then something pulls you under by the ankles. You wake up gasping. You weren't dreaming. There's water sloshing into the lower deck, a leak, small for now. You grab a bucket and bail with the others, muscles aching, feet freezing, eyes half closed. It's routine, it's nothing. But you can't shake the feeling that something is watching. Later, when things calm down, someone mentions the name of the ghost ship, whispered like a curse. The wailing widow, someone says, crewed by the drowned. You don't want to believe it. You're a pirate, not a child. You believe in rum and ropes and coin. But you sleep lighter. And when you dream again, the ocean is whispering your name. You're not just a thief. You're a brand. You didn't start that way. You were a nobody. A scrawny kid from nowhere with calloused feet and a decent throwing arm. But now, out here, you're Boots the brave, or Boots the slightly less likely to die, depending on who's telling the story. Pirates don't just steal treasure, they build reputations, Fear is currency. Legend is armor. You see it every day. Old Cobb, with his carved teeth and tattooed eyeball, once convinced an entire merchant crew to surrender without a fight. They said he ate a man's heart once. He didn't. He just told them he did, and smiled wide. The quartermaster wears a scar that didn't used to be real. He cut his own thigh with a coral shard, and claimed it came from a fight with a shark. One-eyed brute, he says, bit clean through a cannonball. Sure, even the cook tells tall tales, swears he once poisoned a whole Spanish frigate with cabbage alone. Nobody believes him. Nobody wants to. You're working on your own myth. You're the pistol sleeper, the cabbage swiller, the kid who stared down the ghost ship and didn't cry. Out loud. There's a weird truth out here. If people think you're dangerous, they don't test if you really are. So you practice. Not just with weapons, but with presence. You walk slower, talk less. Keep your shoulders square. You learn to smirk just right, like you've seen things. Like maybe you are a little cursed. You add flair, a feather in your hat, a bit of red cloth tied to your belt, a tooth necklace made from, well, they think it's shark. It's actually a pig molar. Doesn't matter. And you start to notice something incredible. It works. When there's a dispute over ration shares, no one argues with you. When it's your turn at the helm, no one second guesses. Even the rats give you a wider berth. Historians still debate whether pirate reputations were cultivated for practical survival or just the natural outcome of extreme boredom and too much sun. But out here, performance is power. Then there's the flag. Your ship's black standard has a crude skull with a forked tongue. No one's sure who painted it. It's not elegant, but it gets the job done. Merchant crews recognize it. You've seen them panic. Sails flapping, ropes snapping, a frenzy of retreat. All because they saw that tattered banner on the horizon. You once chased a ship for 3 days only to find it abandoned. The crew had fled in lifeboats rather than face you. You took their figs and their cat. That cat still lives in the captain's quarters. It has one eye and a hatred of shoes. The legend works both ways. Other pirates give you space. Officials don't bother chasing. Your name, your ship's name, it's a whisper on the wind. But legends are hungry. You have to feed them. That's why, one humid afternoon, you find yourself climbing into a powder-blackened rowboat, oars in hand, as your ship drifts quietly towards an island town with no flag and too many secrets. The goal, intimidation, a quick scare, a fast haul. You walk into the village wearing your best swagger. The cook carries a jar of something that smells like death and looks like jam. The quartermaster bellows, "You've got 5 minutes to bring out what you owe." They do. They always do. Sometimes it's coins. Sometimes it's salted fish. Once it was an accordion, but this time it's a bell, a church bell, rusted and heavy, dragged by 6 terrified villagers. Apparently, someone claimed your crew had stolen God's own tongue. And honestly, you kinda like that. You leave without harming a soul. But the town will remember. The story will grow. In a month, you'll hear it told back to you in a tavern. They say boots of the morning lament, stole the voice of heaven. You don't correct them. You smile. That night, someone carves a new mark on the mast, a stylized boot with a halo. The crew laughs. Then they cheer. And you? You just tuck your pistol under your chest and sleep the best you have in weeks. Because tonight, you're not just surviving. You're becoming a myth. You've raided ships. That's normal. It's what pirates do. But today you raid a church. No, not because you've turned into some kind of anti-holy menace. It's complicated. The town didn't pay their dues. Someone said they were harboring a spy. Or maybe they insulted the captain's beard. Honestly, the real reason got lost somewhere between the fourth bottle of rum and a broken compass. The morning lament drops anchor just offshore, a lazy menace on a calm sea. No cannon fire, no shouting, just tension so thick you could bottle it. You climb into the skiff with 7 others. The water's shallow here, and the shore smells like wet rock, pine sap, and the beginning of a bad decision. The quartermaster's beside you, silent, focused. He has a way of making even calm moments feel like they're about to catch fire. He hands you your pistol and says, "No shooting unless I say." You nod, not because you agree, but because the last guy who disobeyed lost an eyebrow and most of his left boot. As you march inland, the village peeks through the trees like it knows it's about to be scolded. It's not big, just a handful of cottages, a few huts with tin chimneys, and right in the center, a whitewashed church with a crooked bell tower and a door that looks like it sighs when opened. You expect resistance, pitchforks, maybe a few angry priests. What you get is silence. Doors shut, curtains twitch, chickens run like they're trying to get drafted elsewhere. The captain speaks. "We're not here for blood, just the bell." No one questions it. It's not about the bell. It's never about the bell. But the symbolism? That's worth its weight in gold. You knock on the church door. No answer. You push. It opens. Inside, it's musty. Peaceful even. Pews line the dusty floor, and sunlight cuts through a cracked stained glass window, depicting a saint who looks suspiciously disappointed. There's no priest, just an old woman lighting candles. She doesn't flinch when you walk in. "Take what you came for," she says, voice like wind in dry leaves, "and go." You hesitate, then you climb the bell tower. It's harder than it looks. The stairs groan. A few nails try to remove themselves from your boots. At the top, you find the bell, huge, green with age, covered in some language you don't read. You signal down to the crew. Ropes go up. Pulley wheels creak. It takes an hour, maybe more. At one point, the bell swings wildly and nearly kills the cook, which would be ironic but not unwelcome. Finally, it thuds into the grass with all the grace of a sleeping walrus. The villagers come out. They watch you tie it to a sled and drag it through the dirt. No one speaks, except one child who points and says, "Will it ring on your ship?" You say, "Only during very awkward meals." The bell becomes a centerpiece. It doesn't fit anywhere, so it just sits on deck, tied down with rope and superstition. It smells like rust and holy guilt. No one wants to touch it, but no one dares throw it overboard either. Later that night, the crew drinks to your success. The quartermaster tells the story as if the bell screamed when you took it. Someone starts a rumor that it's cursed. Someone else claims it repels storms. You neither confirm nor deny. Historians still debate whether pirates actually targeted churches, or if those stories were inventions of moral panic back on land. But you know the truth. Sometimes the treasure wasn't gold. Sometimes it was memory, fear, a symbol. The next morning, someone ties a cabbage leaf to the bell rope. No one knows why. It stays there for 3 weeks. You sleep easier after that. Not because things are safer, but because you've learned how to carry danger like a cloak. And somewhere, deep in the hold, someone starts carving stories onto the inside of a barrel. Not about treasure, not about battles, but about the time a pirate crew stole God's bell and didn't look back. You're in that story, name and all, even if they spell it Boons the first few times. There's something you don't talk about, not out loud, not even to yourself. It's the smell below decks. You can romanticize piracy all you want. Talk about the sea, the sky, the plunder. Sing songs about freedom and brotherhood. But there's no shanty in the world that can prepare you for what hits you when you step below. It's not one smell, it's layers. First, the wood, saturated with seawater and sweat. Then the mold, creeping into every damp corner like it pays rent. The salt pork has its own tang, sharp and ghostly. Someone spilled fish oil last week, and it's now a permanent feature of the floor. Then there's the unmistakable aroma of unwashed men, cabbage farts, and wet wool. And that's on a good day. You descend the ladder holding your breath. Doesn't help. It gets in through your ears somehow. You swear you can taste it. Your hammock hangs near the gunpowder barrels. Because of course it does. One spark and you'll wake up as mist. But hey, at least it's slightly less pungent there. Gunpowder covers a lot of sins. Some of the crew sleep near the food stores. Others near the livestock, what's left of it. The goat died 3 weeks ago. The chicken escaped. No one knows where it went, but you hear it clucking somewhere near the captain's quarters, like a ghost with feathers. Then there's Gannet. Nobody likes Gannet. He sweats through every shirt by breakfast, and his snoring could shake barnacles off the hull. He also hasn't changed his trousers in, well, you are not sure he has a second pair. You sleep 4 feet from him. At one point, someone tried to hang up damp laundry to make a curtain. It molded. Then the mold molded. It gained sentience, started charging rent. You moved your hammock an inch and called it progress. The ship has no plumbing, obviously. Buckets do the job, most of the time. You don't talk about the other times. Historians still debate whether conditions on pirate ships were significantly worse than on Navy ships. It's a charming argument. You'd love to invite those historians to come spend one night down here. See how scholarly they feel, with a rat crawling up their leg and someone vomiting cabbage stew into a bucket 2 feet away. Speaking of rats, they're everywhere. At night, you hear them racing across beams, chewing ropes, and judging your life choices. One of them stole your biscuit last Tuesday. You've named him Admiral Crumbs. The crew has started placing bets on how long until he chews through the cook's boots. Odds are narrowing, and yet this is home now. You learn to adapt. You sleep curled like a shrimp. You stuff cabbage leaves in your shirt as padding. You tie lavender, well, sea lavender, which smells like regret, to the beams for luck. One guy smokes dried seaweed to clear the air. It doesn't work, but it keeps his hands busy. There's an unspoken agreement not to comment on each other's smells. Unless it's really bad. Then someone throws you overboard. It's not punishment, it's hygiene. Bathing happens when it rains, or when the captain gets fed up and hoses the crew with a bucket. You're lucky if it's seawater. You're very lucky if it's only seawater. You catch glimpses of who you used to be in puddles and polished brass. Your face is thinner, eyes harder, hair longer. Smell worse, but you're stronger. You've earned your place in the stink. One afternoon, a new guy joins the crew. Young, fresh-faced, smiling. His first words upon descending into the hold. What in the seven hells is that? You and the others just smile, he'll learn. That night, he hangs his hammock too close to the bilge. You don't stop him. It's a rite of passage. The next morning, he moves it. Quietly. You clean your pistol by candlelight. You've learned to do it quickly, precisely, even with the smell crawling into your brain like fog. It grounds you. This little gun, stashed under your hammock, is the one thing that feels clean, sharp, certain. It smells like gun oil and steel, like warning, like safety. You wipe it down and tuck it under your shirt. And as the ship rocks gently in the dark, as Gannet begins his nightly symphony of nasal horror, as the rats throw a rave in the galley, you close your eyes and think, this is awful, but it's your awful. Let's talk about something strange, something unexpected, something nobody ever believes until they live it. Pirate democracy. Yes, democracy. On a ship where everyone smells like old soup, and someone once tried to stab you over a spoon. You wake up to it, not the smell, the vote. Someone's banging a pan against the mast. All hands, Captain vote. You nearly fall out of your hammock. Voting? Again? You barely got 4 hours of sleep, and your knee still clicks from yesterday's climbing accident. But voting is sacred out here. Pirate ships weren't monarchies. Captains were chosen, elected, and they could be removed, also by vote. The crew held the real power. If you weren't happy, you made noise. And if that didn't work, you found the loudest guy and made it work. Historians still debate whether this form of governance was truly egalitarian or just chaos with ballots. But you've seen it, lived it, and honestly, it's a beautiful mess. This vote isn't about a new captain, not yet. This one's about a decision. Do we stop at the next port, or keep pushing toward the Spanish treasure rumor 3 weeks south? Everyone gets a say. You line up near the forecastle, holding a seashell, the yes token. If you wanted to vote no, you'd take a small rock. The cook is handing them out, his hair full of flour, muttering, "Don't waste my time if you don't plan to pick cabbage at the next town. You vote. You don't say what, it's your business, but you watch." The quartermaster votes fast, confident. The boatswain takes a full minute, staring at both options like they've personally insulted his mother. Someone changes their mind mid-line. It causes a scene. They're pelted with weevil biscuits for their indecision. Eventually, the captain steps out, tall, barefoot, wearing a coat and a scowl. Votes are in. He gestures to the carpenter, who opens a locked barrel. The ballots go in, and the count begins. It's loud, it's dramatic, it's wildly inaccurate math, but it works. Majority says port. A cheer erupts. Some groans too. Someone throws a hat. It lands on the bell from the church. Everyone claps. It's tradition now. This is the weird heart of piracy. You follow rules, but your rules. You elect your leaders. You agree on punishments. If someone steals from the crew's share, they get lashes, but only after a fair vote. If someone deserts, they're marooned, but not without a vote. Even justice here has paperwork, sort of. The pirate code isn't a myth. It's written on actual parchment, tacked to the inside of the quartermaster's door. Beer-stained, half-torn, and completely illegible in places. But it's there. You once tried to read it, got as far as Article 4. If a man be found to have stolen, slept with, or sung louder than the crew agrees tolerable, he shall forfeit 1 share and be forced to swab for 2 days. Reasonable. There's even rules about duels. You're allowed to fight, but only if you do it off the ship, on solid land, and someone else agrees to carry both of you back if it goes badly. You once watched a duel between the sailmaster and the cook's cousin. They both got sunburned and gave up halfway through. That was the day you discovered there's such a thing as a polite mutiny. You gather on the main deck after the vote. Plans are made. The captain orders a change in heading. The quartermaster charts the new route on a map that looks like it was drawn by a very ambitious crab. You polish your pistol, not for show, for grounding, because tomorrow you might land. And ports are unpredictable. They can be paradise, or they can be full of bounty hunters with itchy hands and very few teeth. You tuck the pistol into your belt and help adjust the sails. The wind shifts. The crew moves like parts of a single, creaky, sunburned animal. And here's the thing. In that moment, you feel something you haven't felt in a while. Not pride, not safety. Belonging. Because in this floating chaos of stink and salt and song, you have a say. You have a vote. You matter. Even if the cook keeps calling you boots and refuses to stop. Even if your hammock still smells like fear and vinegar. Even if someone stole your socks last night again. You're a pirate, and your voice counts. You don't remember exactly when your teeth started to hurt. Maybe it was a few weeks ago. Maybe longer. At first, it was just a twinge when you bit into stale biscuit. Then a sharp zap when you drank anything cold. And now, well, now it feels like a tiny demon is using your gums as a hammock and sharpening knives in his spare time. You've heard the word, everyone has. Scurvy. It's whispered like a curse, muttered like an omen, spat like a confession. Out here, scurvy is more than a disease. It's a reckoning. Your gums are swollen, bleeding. Your breath smells like an argument between cabbage and death, and every joint in your body aches like it's remembering something you didn't do. Historians still debate whether pirates truly understood the cause of scurvy before citrus was widely adopted. But you don't need a medical degree to know something is very wrong. The old gunner lost 2 teeth last week. Just coughed, and clink, out they came. He wrapped them in cloth like tiny bones and whispered to them before tossing them overboard. Sorry, lads, you deserved better. The quartermaster has a secret stash of lemons. You know this. Everyone does. He sucks one every other day like it's forbidden fruit. He calls it preventative. You asked for a slice once. He offered to trade it for your pistol. You laughed. He didn't. Instead, you get pickled cabbage, again, and hope. But here's the thing. Even the cabbage is failing. It's been months. The barrels at the bottom are starting to go soft. The brine's cloudy. You pulled out a piece yesterday and it blinked at you. Probably a hallucination. Hopefully, you try other things. The cook hands out dried herbs. Good for the blood, he says. Someone starts chewing bark. Someone else drinks a concoction made from limes, gunpowder, and rum. They throw up for 3 hours and swear it helped. There's a strange sort of camaraderie in shared decay. You compare bruises, laugh at bleeding gums. One guy names his loose molar Percy and threatens to start charging it rent. You take to chewing twine. It doesn't help, but it gives your jaw something to do. Your breath smells like barnacles. Your tongue feels too big for your mouth. You've bitten it twice this week. You pass a mirror fragment in the captain's quarters and catch a glimpse of your smile. It's terrifying. You look like a haunted jack-o'-lantern. You keep your mouth closed the rest of the day. The next port can't come soon enough. Word is they might have oranges. You'd kill for an orange. You'd marry an orange. You'd write sonnets to an orange. Someone says there's a lemon grove inland. You cry a little, quietly, into your cabbage. One night, the pain spikes. You wake up with your mouth full of blood. It tastes like metal and regret. You stumble onto deck, clutching your jaw, praying the stars will take pity. The quartermaster finds you. Gum ghosts, he asks. You nod. He hands you a crust of hardtack. Chew, it won't help, but it'll distract you. You chew, it splinters. You bleed. But he was right, it distracts you. And for a while, that's enough. You remember hearing that sailors used to die in droves from scurvy. Whole ships lost. Bodies tossed overboard like bad ballast. You wonder if anyone would notice if you went. You hope they would, even if just to argue over your boots. But you're not gone yet. That night, you press a cabbage leaf to your cheek like a poultice. It's warm. It smells like soup. It almost helps. You sleep with your pistol in one hand and your jaw cradled in the other. You dream of groves, sunlight, fruit that doesn't fight back. And when you wake, you touch your gums and feel still there, still awful, still you. And maybe, just maybe, that's victory enough for now. You've heard the stories. Everyone has. Tales of pirates burying treasure in secret coves, drawing cryptic maps, hiding chests under palm trees marked with an X that somehow never fades. It's mostly nonsense. The truth? Pirates spent their gold fast. Rum, cards, a better pair of boots if you were feeling ambitious. You didn't bury treasure. You wore it, drank it, or lost it in a dice game. But there was that one time. It started with a whisper. A new crewman, young and twitchy, claimed he knew of a buried chest off the coast of Hispaniola. Said his brother had drawn a map. Said it was real. You all laughed at him, until he showed it. A scrap of oilskin, faded ink, a palm tree, a rock shaped like a turtle, and a symbol that might have been a sun or someone sneezing. It didn't matter. The captain took one look and said, "Change course." Historians still debate whether these treasure maps were genuine or just bait for mutiny and doom. But when you're 3 weeks out from the nearest port and running low on salt pork, even hope starts to look shiny. You arrive at the island on a muggy afternoon. The sun hits you like a frying pan, and the trees buzz with insects that sound like tiny, angry engines. You land in longboats, pistol in belt, shovel on shoulder. The quartermaster reads the map like it's holy scripture. You fan out, searching for landmarks that may or may not be imaginary. You find the turtle rock. It actually does look like a turtle if you squint and have a vivid imagination. The palm tree, plenty of those, but one leans just right, like it's tired of the lies. The digging begins. First hour, excitement, jokes, singing. Second hour, sweat, cursing. Someone pulls a muscle. Third hour, silence, sore backs, mutiny vibes. Then, thunk. A shovel hits something. You freeze, look at each other. The quartermaster kneels, scrapes dirt away with his hands, and there it is. A chest. Not huge, not ornate, but real. Heavy wood, iron hinges, a rusted lock. You drag it out, hearts pounding like war drums. Someone cries. You're not ashamed to say it might have been you. The captain forces it open with his cutlass. Inside, coins, gold, real ones, gleaming like the sun on calm water. Also, pearls, a ring, a silver goblet etched with a sea serpent, and at the bottom, a note. To those who find this, know that I was no fool. Just out of time, the crew cheers. Someone faints. The cook kisses the goblet and says he's retiring to open a bakery. You divide the loot on the beach, fair shares, just as the code demands. You get 4 coins, a pearl, and the goblet. You try to trade the goblet for a lemon, no takers. Later, back on the ship, the map gets tacked to the mast, framed with rope. A reminder that sometimes, just sometimes, the old stories hold a drop of truth. Someone starts a rumor that there are more chests, that the first was just a decoy. Someone else claims to have found a second map inside the goblet, etched so finely it can only be seen by moonlight. You don't believe them, but you check just in case. You polish your pistol, count your coins, bite one. It's real. Tastes like metal and myth. That night, you dream of treasure, of gold too bright to look at, of chests that open themselves, of palm trees that whisper secrets if you lean in close enough. And for the first time in a long time, you sleep without clutching your pistol. Because tonight, you feel like the sea gave you something, a moment of magic, a story worth telling. And in the morning, the captain rings the stolen church bell and says, "Back to work, you greedy barnacles." But you don't mind, because now, when people ask if buried treasure is real, you can smile and say, "Once it was." There is no such thing as sleeping alone on a pirate ship. Not really. Sure, you might have your own hammock, your own little patch of swaying canvas suspended above a floor that smells like wet hemp and bruised cabbage. But privacy? Personal space? Those are land luxuries. At sea, you share everything, including your bed, with rats. They're everywhere, and not the cute, wide-eyed kind from fairy tales. These ones are bold, scarred, witty even. You swear they play dice when no one's looking. You've stopped trying to get rid of them. You tried traps. They outsmarted them. You tried poison. They ate around it, and then left the clean bones stacked in a corner like they were sending a message. Historians still debate the scale of rodent infestation on pirate ships, but you have no doubts. You counted 17 in one night once. One of them had a scar across its eye. You named it Lieutenant Gnaw. At first, you were horrified. They chewed through your gear, dragged off your socks. One even absconded with the captain's logbook. It was recovered, mostly intact, with suspicious nibble marks near the part about ration shares. Eventually, you adapted. You learned to hang everything from the beams, out of reach. You learned to sleep with your legs curled, your sleeves tucked, and your eyes half open. You even began to respect them. They're survivors like you, tough, clever, eerily organized. The cook swears the rats are developing language. You thought he was joking until you saw 3 of them working together to tip over a biscuit tin. You start noticing patterns. The same rat appears by your hammock every 3rd night, sniffing around your boots. You leave him crumbs. He returns the favor by not eating your blanket. You develop an understanding. Then comes the incident. You wake one night to a sharp tug, something yanking your pouch off your belt. You lash out, half asleep. There's a squeak, a blur of motion, and the soft plop of something falling into the bilge water. You grab your pistol, light a lantern, and check. It's a rat. Not just any rat. Lieutenant Gnaw. Limp, wet, clutching a scrap of dried fig in his paws, like a pirate clinging to his last coin. You scoop him out, wrap him in an old rag, dry him off. He's breathing. Barely. The crew thinks you've lost it. You're nursing a rat? The quartermaster asks, eyes wide with the kind of disgust usually reserved for spoiled meat and political debate. You don't explain, you just nod. You keep the rat in a crate for a few days. Feed him crumbs. Whisper to him while you clean your pistol. He recovers. Walks with a limp now, which only adds to his mystique. From that moment on, the rats leave your hammock alone. Completely. It becomes legend. Some say you struck a pact with the rodent king. Others claim you're cursed. Either way, you get more sleep. It's a strange comfort, knowing you're watched over by tiny, furry bodyguards. One night, a storm hits. The ship groans, the sails scream, and a barrel rolls loose below deck. In the chaos, you slip. A flash of white fur streaks past, rats scattering. One bites your sleeve, pulls, you follow, crawl. Avoid a falling beam by inches. Later, someone asks how you knew to move. You say, a feeling. But really, it was Lieutenant Gnaw. The crew starts calling him your second mate. Someone makes him a tiny hat out of cork and thread. You let him ride your shoulder during slow watches. He nibbles biscuit, watches the horizon like he understands what's coming. You still polish your pistol every night. Still sleep curled tight, wrapped in canvas and caution. But now, when something rustles in the dark, You don't reach for your weapon. You reach for crumbs. And when you close your eyes, you dream not of gold or storms, but of tiny, clever eyes watching from the shadows. Not enemies, allies. Some pirates were criminals. Some were deserters. Some were just sailors who got sick of being paid in promises and punches. And some, believe it or not, were hired legally. They had a piece of paper, a fancy one with wax seals and dramatic language, called a letter of marque. Basically, it was royal permission to rob people, a license to plunder, signed by kings who didn't want to get their hands dirty. Go attack our enemies, the letter said. Take their stuff. Give us a cut. Do it in our name. But if you get caught, we've never heard of you. You hear about letters of marque one drizzly morning while sharpening your knife on the main deck. The sails are limp, the sky sullen, and the only thing moving is the cook's pot of something that might be soup. The quartermaster stomps past, waving a crumpled sheet of parchment. Says we're privateers now, he sneers. Privateer, that's the polite term. Sounds cleaner, doesn't it? Fancier, almost respectable. The captain appears, coat flapping in the wind like a disgruntled flag. He holds up the letter. By authority of His Majesty of somewhere you've never been, we're now authorized to attack any ship flying the colors of somewhere else you don't care about. Historians still debate whether most pirates with letters of marque were honest mercenaries or just outlaws with better branding. You don't debate. You just blink and say, does this mean we get better rations? It does not. But it does mean you now have an excuse. When you sack a merchant vessel, you can wave the letter and say, sorry, it's legal. You still tie them up, still take their coins, still steal their pickled fruit. But now you do it with diplomatic flair. 1 week later, you attack a Portuguese vessel that's definitely not from the enemy country on the list. Doesn't matter. Close enough, says the captain. It's the spirit of the thing. The loot is good. Cheese, wine, and a box of odd-smelling candles that the cook insists are edible. The letter gets wetter every day. It's been stuffed in a pocket, dropped in a bilge, and used once to swat a particularly rude gull. But the wax seal is still mostly intact, so that's good enough. At one point, you dock in a neutral port. The governor greets the crew warily until the captain dramatically presents the crumpled scroll. By royal order, he says, as if he hadn't slept on it 2 nights ago. The governor raises an eyebrow but lets you in, gives you water, fruit, and permission to spend your coins in the market. You buy a comb. The rats eat it the next day. You begin to hear rumors that the letter is fake, that it was stolen, that it expired last year. You ask the captain. He shrugs. It's all politics, lad. If you wave paper and talk loud, people believe you most of the time. You're not reassured, but you keep waving it. One day, you meet a crew who actually have a real letter in a box with a ribbon, signed by an admiral. They look down on you, call you imposters. So you challenge them to a race. First ship to reach the atoll and back. You win. Then you steal their ribbon. You're privateers now, you say. Double authorized. No one questions it again. But the letter can't save you from everything. When the Royal Navy catches wind of you, They don't send a thank you note. They send a frigate, a big one, with real cannons, real uniforms, real letters of marque that don't smell like vinegar. You run. The sea foams beneath you. The sails billow. The crew screams and laughs and prays. You slip away, barely. The next morning, the captain burns the letter. Let them come, he says. We'll write our own. You realize then that paperwork never really protected you. Only the sea did. And your speed. And maybe your pistol. You polish it that night with slow, careful hands. The paper may be gone, but the metal remains. And out here, that's the only authority that ever mattered. It always starts as a joke. You and a few others, sitting on barrels, passing a bottle, watching the sunset like it owes you money. Someone mutters, "We should mutiny." Everyone laughs, nervously, because no one really wants to mutiny, not most of the time, not unless it's serious. But then the cook cuts rations. The quartermaster plays favorites. The captain starts talking to the church bell like it's giving him advice. And suddenly the joke doesn't feel so funny anymore. You were never going to lead a mutiny. You don't have the voice for it, or the confidence, or the backing. You're just the kid with a pistol and a rat sidekick. But late one night, lying in your hammock, chewing a bit of salted twine to keep your jaw distracted from scurvy pain, you start writing. Not a manifesto, not a call to arms, a poem about the crew, about the way the sails sound like sighs when the wind's wrong, about how the cabbage stinks worse when the cook's in a mood, about how the captain hasn't smiled in weeks. It's good, maybe too good. You leave it folded in a biscuit tin by the mess bench, no signature. Next morning, it's gone. By lunch, it's been copied. By evening, it's everywhere. The quartermaster calls it sedition in rhyme. The cook calls it the first thing that's made me feel something in years. You swear you didn't mean for it to spread. You just needed to say something. But the crew's hungry for change. The captain's been distant. The wind's been cruel. The rats have started hiding during meetings. And so the whispers begin. Not angry, not loud. Just, maybe it's time. Historians still debate how often pirate mutinies happened versus how often they were talked about. But you've seen how fast talk becomes motion, and how quickly that motion can turn into something irreversible. One night, you're sharpening your knife when the boatswain slides in beside you. "Nice words," he says. "Didn't know you had that in you." You shrug. He nods toward the captain's quarters. You thinking about it? You blink. About what? He grins. Don't play dumb about stepping up. You almost laugh. You, lead. You can barely keep your socks dry. "I write bad poetry," you say. He nods again, slower this time. Sometimes that's all it takes. He leaves before you can ask what that means. That night, someone knocks on the captain's door, loud, firm. You don't know who. The next morning, the captain's coat is hanging on the mast, empty. The bell is silent. And the crew is watching you. You don't want it, but you also don't say no. The quartermaster holds up your poem. "This one," he says, "reminded us we're still people. There's a vote. You lose, spectacularly. Which is good. You don't want the wheel. The new captain is the sailmaster, calm, capable. Smells like lemon rinds and rope burn. The crew cheers. Someone brings out a rum bottle shaped like a duck. Don't ask. You slip back into the shadows, pistol on your hip, rat on your shoulder. The cook passes by. Your verse made old Cobb cry, he says. Had to mop his tears out of the gun deck. You grin. Didn't mean to. He claps you on the back. That's why it worked. That night, under the stars, you write another one. Just for yourself. About how sometimes the loudest rebellion is a whispered truth. And how a mutiny doesn't always end in blood. Sometimes it ends in better. Some pirates wear rings. Some carry bones. Some tattoo saints on their knuckles, devils on their necks, and entire shipwrecks across their backs. But you have a rat, a pistol, and a stubborn habit of not dying. Superstitions are currency on board. Every sailor has at least one. An object, a charm, a ritual they swear keeps them alive. And when you live every day inches from the sea, the wind, the knife's edge of mutiny, you start believing in strange things. You first notice it when old Cobb rubs a shark's tooth before every meal. Keeps the cramps away, he says. It doesn't. He still winces after stew, but he believes it. The sailmaster knots red thread around every toe before battle. The cook whispers apologies to the soup, just in case it's listening. And the captain, before he vanished, wore a monkey skull around his neck. Said it reminded him that the smartest creature aboard was already dead. Comforting. Historians still debate whether pirate superstitions were practical psychology, cultural leftovers, or just the result of extended cabbage exposure. Probably all three. Your own ritual is newer. Each night, before sleep, you set out 3 things on the shelf above your hammock. Your pistol, your rat's biscuit, and a stone from the island where you buried that half-dead parrot last month. The parrot didn't belong to anyone. It just showed up one day, screaming obscenities in Spanish and trying to bite people's ears. It lasted 3 days, died peacefully. You gave it a proper burial. Someone said it was cursed. You kept the rock anyway. You're not superstitious exactly, but you respect superstition. You once saw a man refuse to step on a certain plank because it smelled like betrayal. No one questioned it. Another wore socks made of nettle, claiming it kept his soul sharp. He limped constantly, but no one laughed, because laughing means the sea notices. And when the sea notices, things happen. Like the time the wind died for 5 days after someone mocked the bell. The same bell you stole from that poor church. You remember the muttering, the dark looks, the quiet prayers. You left a biscuit under the bell that night, just in case. There's also the salt line. No one crosses it after sundown. It's invisible, but everyone knows it's there, between the forward hold and the midship gun rack. You once saw the cook accidentally step over it. He got hives. Coincidence? Maybe. But the line's respected now. There's also the unnamed rope. You know the one. It's tied near the prow, always slightly frayed, always damp. Nobody touches it. Not since the rope tender disappeared mid-voyage. No one saw, no one spoke, just gone. You nodded when someone said, "That rope remembers." These rituals, charms, whispered warnings, they're not rules, not exactly, but they're followed like gospel. When the ship sails through fog, no one speaks above a whisper. When a fish jumps on deck, you never throw it back. When a gull lands on the mast 3 times in one day, you sleep facing east. You learn them all, respect them, add your own. You now tap your pistol twice before every meal, once for the food, once for survival. And every full moon, you scratch a line into the deck beneath your hammock. Not deep, just enough to say, I'm still here. The crew starts to notice. They copy you, not openly, just small things, echoes. One sleeps with 3 stones under his blanket. Another keeps a lock of hair from his twin brother who drowned. A third sings the same line of a sea shanty before each climb to the crow's nest. And somehow it helps. Not with luck, not always, but with living. These rituals keep the fear manageable, the unknown shaped into action, the chaos narrowed into something you can do. Tonight, the stars are out, sharp as broken glass. The bell hasn't rung in 3 days. The rat sits at your feet, licking a crumb from his paw. You set the pistol down, the biscuit, the stone. You scratch your line, and in the silence before sleep, you whisper. Not a prayer, not quite. Just words to the dark. Still here, there's a sound the cannons make. It's not what you'd think, not thunder, not a boom you hear once and forget. No, it's a crack, a shriek, and a shudder. A sound that climbs up through your boots, worms its way into your bones, and stays. It starts at dawn. You're barely awake. Someone yells from the crow's nest, "Sail on the horizon." And suddenly, the ship isn't a ship anymore. It's a thing alive, screaming for blood. You stumble from your hammock, feet bare, eyes bleary. You grab your pistol, sling your belt, and run. No time for cabbage, no time for rituals. The air smells like salt, rope, and expectation. The ship moves faster than you thought possible. Sails snap open. Orders fly. Boots thunder across the deck. Every man, woman, and rat in motion. The enemy ship is close now. Spanish by the looks. Sleek, painted, polished. You hate it already. You help load the cannon. Powder, ball, wad. Hands shaking, teeth clenched. The gunner lights the match. And then boom. You feel it before you hear it. Your ears ring, your knees buckle. Smoke blossoms around you like angry clouds. Return fire. Boom. Something whistles past your head. Splinters fly. You duck. Someone screams. Someone else laughs. You can't tell if it's joy or madness. The deck tilts. The sea churns. The sails rip. Voices roar. The world shrinks to motion and noise. You fire your pistol once. You don't know if it hits. You reload. Shake the powder into the pan with trembling fingers. Wish you had more training or fewer enemies. A cannonball slams into the foremast. Wood shatters. The ship groans. Men curse and pray and bleed. It's not clean, like the songs say. It's not choreographed. It's chaos. It's confusion. It's close. Boarding ropes fly. Hooks grab. You're pulled toward the other ship like it's gravity itself. You leap, barely clear the gap. Land hard on foreign planks. You draw your blade. Parry. Duck. Someone tries to stab you with a bread knife. You kick him in the knee. He yells in German. Your pistol's gone. You lost it during the jump. You feel naked. You fight anyway. Someone's shouting orders. The captain, maybe. or the quartermaster, or the cook. Doesn't matter. You follow the flow, the rhythm, the instincts of someone who desperately wants to see another sunset. A man charges you, you trip him, he falls, doesn't get up. Another swings an axe, you dodge. He misses, gets hit from behind. The bell back on your ship rings. No one knows who pulled the rope. Smoke stings your eyes, blood stings your hands. You keep moving. You slip, land hard, think, this is it. But then, a hand. The sailmaster. He yanks you up like you're no heavier than a rum bottle. You nod. He grins. You're both bleeding. Neither of you cares. Historians still debate what naval battles were like for common sailors. Whether they understood the politics, whether they fought for glory, or just because someone told them to. You don't debate. You just fight and hope and stay low. The tide turns, your side wins. The enemy surrenders. Hands raised, weapons dropped. Someone's crying, someone's praying, someone's stealing a hat. Could be the rat. Back aboard the morning lament, you slump by a barrel. Alive, shaking, thirsty. Your ears still ring, your shoulders bruised. Your soul feels like it's aged 20 years. The cook hands you a cabbage roll. Victory snack, he says. You eat it. The captain is limping. The quartermaster has a cut on his forehead. The sailmaster is missing a sleeve, but everyone's smiling. You find your pistol hours later, wedged beneath a coil of rope, still loaded. You clean it slowly, reverently. It's more than a weapon now. It's your hand, your voice, your luck. That night, the sea is calm. Stars above, quiet deck, creaking wood. You lie in your hammock, body aching, mind buzzing. The rat curls near your boots. You whisper, "We made it." And sleep takes you like a wave. Bathing is optional, regret is not. You've been at sea for months. No port, no fresh water spare. And the last time it rained, the sails caught most of it before it ever touched your skin. You can't remember what clean feels like. You can barely remember your own scent, only that it's strong. The cook says you smell like a goat that lost a bet. You take it as a compliment. There is no bath on a pirate ship. There's the ocean, but jumping in means possibly not getting back out. There's a bucket, but the water in it is mostly for rinsing fish guts or scrubbing blood off the deck. So you stay dirty, like everyone else, and you all politely agree not to bring it up. The heat doesn't help. The sun beats down relentlessly. Your shirt clings to you like wet bark. Your socks, what's left of them, squish. You peel them off every night and lay them out. They never dry. And the smell. It isn't one thing, it's layers. Salt, sweat, grease, rope tar. Whatever's in that stew. Rat musk, gunpowder, human regret. It's a scent that could be bottled and weaponized. You try tricks. Splash a little rum on your armpits. Stuff herbs in your collar. Once, you rubbed lemon peel on your neck. It stung. You smelled like sad pie. Old Cobb swears by vinegar. Keeps the mold off, he says, dousing his feet daily. They've turned gray. You choose not to follow his example. The quartermaster just laughs. What's the point of washing if the sea's going to ruin you again tomorrow? Historians still debate how often pirates bathed. Some say they jumped in during stops. Others say they avoided water like it was cursed. One thing's for sure, nobody wore perfume. The one time someone tried, it was confiscated. The captain claimed the scent invited demons. You're pretty sure he just wanted it for himself. Then came the lice. They arrive quietly, like guilt. You wake up scratching. At first, you think it's just the rope fibers, or maybe your rat. But no, these things move. The whole crew gets it. A wave of tiny, determined pests. It becomes a bonding experience. You all scratch together, compare bites, share theories. They came from the Spanish ship, someone says. They live in the cabbage, says someone else. The bell brought them, mutters the cook, eyeing it suspiciously. Someone starts shaving their head, then another. Soon, half the crew is bald and furious. You keep your hair tightly tied, covered in a scarf soaked in vinegar. It smells like a salad, but it works. Then comes the itch behind your knee, a boil, then another. Welcome to the second wave of regret. The rash. Could be heat, could be filth, could be punishment from the sea gods. Whatever it is, it burns. You stop scratching, too painful. You limp. Everyone limps. The rats, fine, somehow they're thriving. You try a salt scrub using deck sand. It works, briefly. Then it makes things worse. You lie in your hammock, arms out, legs apart, like a sunburnt starfish. The cook offers a cure. Boiled seaweed, whale grease, and onion skin. You apply it. You smell like dinner. It doesn't help. You begin to fantasize about rain, about waterfalls, about bathtubs the size of rowboats. You promise the universe that if you ever feel truly clean again, you'll, well, you're not sure. But something noble. Then finally it happens, a squall. Rain. Blessed, pouring, skin-stinging rain. The entire crew erupts. You strip off your shirt, run across the deck like a madman, arms open to the sky. The water hits you like absolution. You lather with ash. You scrub with rope ends. You rinse in the downpour, laughing, shouting, crying a little. Even the captain joins. Bare-chested, bald, shouting sea shanties to the clouds. The bell rings. Why? Who knows? Maybe the ship itself is celebrating. You dry off by the galley fire, wrapped in sailcloth, sipping something warm and awful. Your skin tingles, your hair drips, your nose still works. You feel new. Not clean exactly, but closer. That night, you crawl into your hammock with damp hair, scrubbed skin, and the lightest soul you've felt in weeks. Your pistol rests beside you. The rat snoozes in a dry sock. And for a moment, before sleep takes you, you breathe in deep, and it doesn't hurt. The parrot is back. No one saw it arrive. 1 minute the railing was empty. The next, it was perched there, molting, glaring, and saying something deeply offensive in Portuguese. You nearly drop your spoon. It tilts its head, squawks, and then mutters, "Son of a sea slug," in perfect English. The cook claps. The quartermaster groans. The bell rings. No one's near the rope. You're starting to think the ship has a sense of humor. The bird quickly becomes a fixture. It wanders freely, bites fingers, steals earrings, and once pooped directly into old Cobb's tea. Cobb thanked it. There's no cage, no leash. It comes and goes as it pleases. Sometimes it disappears for days. Sometimes it sleeps in your hammock. You don't invite it. It just is. The captain, before he vanished, claimed every good pirate ship had a parrot. A witness, he said, in case heaven forgets. Historians still debate whether pirates commonly kept parrots, or if that's just storybook nonsense. But here, on this ship, with this creature, it feels inevitable. You try to ignore it at first, but then it starts following you. It sits on the rail while you clean your pistol, mimics the sound, click, snap. Bang, it yells, then laughs. It steals your biscuit, drops it in your boot. You eat it anyway. You start talking to it, quietly, at night, when no one's around. You tell it about your dreams, about home, about how your teeth still ache, even though the lemons finally arrived. It listens, tilts its head, sometimes answers. One night, it says, "Still here," in your voice. You freeze. Then you laugh. Then you stop laughing. It perches on the bell sometimes, watches the horizon like it knows what's coming. It doesn't like storms. It goes quiet before them, ruffles its feathers, nuzzles the mast. You take the hint. You start checking the rigging when the parrot hides. It's right, every time. Soon the crew starts treating it like an oracle. Where's the bird becomes a real question. It's with the gunpowder, someone says. You move the gunpowder. The rat and the parrot develop a mutual understanding. They share crumbs. They groom each other. You catch them once playing tug of war with a bit of red string. You pretend not to see. And then one morning, it's gone again. No feather, no squawk, no warning. You search, even climb the rigging, call its name, not that it ever had one. You just called it bird. It seemed to like that. 3 days pass. You miss it. You miss it. You leave a biscuit on the rail, just in case. The next morning, it's gone. The biscuit, not the bird. You sigh, back to routine. Cabbage, salt, deck scrubbing, rat feeding, night watch. And then, one soft squawk from the galley rafters. You look up. It's there, covered in ash, missing a few feathers, clutching a coin in one claw. A real coin, Spanish silver. It drops it at your feet, then says, "Mine now," and flies off again. The crew cheers, the cook cries, the bell rings itself. You keep the coin. You don't spend it. You drill a hole and wear it around your neck, for luck. The parrot becomes part of the ship, just like the rat, just like you. And some nights, when the moon is low and the sea is still, it lands near your hammock, clicks its beak, and whispers things you said once, when you thought no one was listening. Still here, it says, and somehow that's all you need. Every pirate knows the stories, tales of wild men and wild ships, sure, but nothing stirs a deck like the pirate code. Not law, not exactly. Not even rules, really. More like a collection of extremely strong suggestions, written in someone's best attempt at legibility, copied a dozen times across parchment, driftwood, and the backs of old maps. Your ship keeps its code nailed to the inside of the quartermaster's door, water-stained, singed in one corner, signed with names long gone or dead, still sacred. You read it sometimes, late at night, when the rats have gone quiet and the sea has turned to silk. No man shall strike another without permission from the crew. He who deserts in battle shall be marooned with one bottle and no sympathy. If found cheating at dice, the offender shall lose ears, fingers, or dignity, whichever goes first. Some parts are strange. No bananas on Wednesdays. Sing before sunrise and the sea sings back. You asked the cook about that one once. He just shivered and changed the subject. But the code is real. It binds the crew in blood, in salt, in necessity. Historians still debate how strictly pirate crews followed their codes. Some claim they were myth, romantic fabrications. Others insist they were ironclad social contracts designed to keep chaos afloat just long enough to make it profitable. You know the truth, it depends on the ship. On the morning lament, the code matters. You've seen men punished for breaking it. A stolen share once earned 3 lashes and 2 days in the crow's nest without shade. Another time, a drunken fight ended with a vote, and the loser got sent to sleep next to the bilge until the bruises faded. The quartermaster enforces the code, not the captain. The quartermaster's vote matters more in discipline. It keeps the peace, which is why this morning things get complicated. A deckhand, new, eager, loud, accuses the sailmaster of hoarding limes. A serious charge. Lime theft means scurvy. Scurvy means mutiny. Mutiny means floating in a barrel with a rusty spoon for company. The crew gathers, quiet, coiled, watching. The quartermaster listens. The accused stands straight, says nothing, just chews a clove and waits. A vote is called. You cast your shell, yes, investigate. Others follow. The result, a search. And sure enough, in the sailmaster's kit, 3 limes, wrapped, hidden, still green. The quartermaster asks, anything to say? The sailmaster nods. 1 was for me, 1 for my brother, 1 for the parrot. The bird's not looking well. The parrot coughs. Nobody laughs. Then, without ceremony, the sailmaster takes off his coat, walks to the mast, ties his own wrist, holds up the rope. 3 lashes, not cruel, just enough. No one cheers, but no one complains. The code has spoken. Afterward, someone feeds the parrot a lime wedge. It bites their thumb. Everyone nods. Justice. Later that evening, the crew adds a new line to the parchment. You watch them write it in brown ink with a broken quill. Those who take for themselves what keeps all alive shall pay in skin, not in coin. You nod, quiet, agree. And then, something unexpected. The sailmaster walks over and hands you a small piece of lime. For your rat, he says. You blink, accept. The rat licks it, makes a face, eats it anyway. You carve your own line later into the bunk above your hammock. Even the code leaves room for forgiveness. And that night, when the bell rings without a hand to pull it, no one panics. They just listen. Let it echo. Let it remind them. This ship, this life, this strange floating family, you don't survive it alone. You survive it together. Bound not just by plunder, but by parchment. And maybe, just maybe, by a parrot who remembers everything. It begins with a breeze, not a regular breeze, not the soft, salt-kissed breath of the sea that rocks you to sleep. This one is sharp, urgent, the kind that pulls at sails and whispers through the rigging like it's trying to say, "Run, you're asleep when it hits." Hammock swaying, rat snoring, parrot somewhere above muttering curses in at least 3 languages. Then comes the sound. A crack, distant, then another, louder, and suddenly, screaming. You tumble out of your hammock, hit the floor, and grab your pistol out of pure reflex. You don't even have both boots on yet. Someone's yelling, "Storm, storm's coming." No one yells that unless it's serious. You bolt up to the deck, half laced, half awake. The sky is already wrong. Darker than night, but not yet night. Greenish, bruised. The clouds look like they're folding in on themselves, like fists made of fog. The sails are already reefed, but the wind doesn't care. It slams into the ship like it has a grudge. You're thrown sideways. Grab the railing. Haul yourself upright. The bell rings. No one's near it. You help secure a loose barrel. It bites your shin. You don't care. You drag ropes, tie knots that your fingers forget halfway through. Rain hits sideways. It stings like shame. The rat hides in your coat. The parrot, gone. Probably smarter than all of you. The storm doesn't crash in like a wave. It peels in, slow at first, then all at once. Lightning strikes the water 100 yards off. Blinding. Thunder follows too fast. No gap, no warning. The mast groans. The mainsail tears like paper. The ship lurches. You fall. Roll. Slam into the gunwale. Taste blood. The quartermaster's voice cuts through the chaos. "Bail! Bail now!" You grab a bucket. Bail like your soul depends on it, because it might. The sea comes aboard without knocking. Waves crash over the side, drench the deck, drag ropes loose, knock men flat. One swept over, gone, just like that. Another grabs a beam. You help pull him in. His legs twisted. He smiles. Still got the good one. The captain is shouting, steering blind. The compass spins. The map's long gone, torn, soaked, or both. You're not going anywhere. You're just surviving. You think of all the things you should have done. Apologized to the cook. Told the rat you appreciated him. Stopped pretending you didn't care about that parrot. And then crack. The mainmast splits. Wood screams. Sail collapses. The ship lists. "Hold!" someone yells. "Brace!" another shouts. You just cling. The world turns sideways. Rain becomes knives. The deck a slide. You lose the pistol. Just for a second. Enough to make you panic. You find it again. Clamp your hand around it like it's hope. The parrot returns. Lands on your shoulder. Shouts, "Run!" Then bites your ear, helpful. Lightning again, too close. You smell burned air. You pray. Not to a god, to the sea, to the code, to the ship, to anyone who will listen. You promise things. If you make it through, you'll be better, kinder. You'll stop hiding limes. You'll name the rat properly. You'll tell that story you wrote in your head. And then, like someone flipped a coin, quiet. Not complete, just less. The rain softens, the wind slows, the sky exhales. You open your eyes. You're still on the ship. It's still afloat, barely. You cough, laugh, cry, everything at once. The quartermaster limps past. We lost 2 barrels, 3 men, and half the galley. The cook emerges, hair standing straight up. Storm took my soup. I'm taking that personally. You look around, damage everywhere. Ropes frayed, sails shredded, but you're still here. The rat peeks out of your coat, squeaks once, satisfied. The parrot poops on your sleeve. You say thank you. You sleep on deck that night, under a tarp, next to 2 other crew, one of whom won't stop snoring. You let them. You survived a storm that wanted you gone. And in the morning, the sea is flat as glass. You sip hot water, no cabbage today, just calm. And for the first time in days, you take a deep breath. It smells like salt and smoke and life. You always knew it might end like this. No storm, no mutiny, no ghost ship. Just a shadow on the horizon, a glint of something unnatural in the sun, and then the unmistakable shape of a Royal Navy frigate, cutting through the water like it owns the ocean. Because it does. The cry goes up at dawn. Sails, starboard! You're on your feet before you're fully awake. Rat stuffed in your pocket, pistol at your side. The air tastes like metal. The sky is clear, almost smug. Spyglass confirms it. 3 masts, high decks, gun ports open, a flag that means no discussion, no deals, no escape. The captain doesn't yell. He just says run. The sails unfurl with desperation. You grab lines you've never touched before. Everyone moves like a hive, coordinated, breathless, praying. But it's no use. The morning lament is fast, but she's not that fast. Not anymore. Not with a broken boom, patched sails, and a hull that leaks opinions. They gain. Cannons boom in the distance, not aimed, just saying hello. Your ship lists left. The quartermaster swears. The parrot screams, "Bugger!" into the wind. You check your pistol, dry, loaded, pointless. You've outrun storms. You've faced down curses, rats, cabbage, your own crew, but this is justice. Historians still debate whether pirates feared the Navy more than they feared each other. But you don't debate, you run. For hours, you tack and turn, push the rigging to its limit, throw barrels overboard to lighten the load. You even throw the church bell. It sinks like a sinner. Someone weeps, quietly, everyone hears. Still they gain. And then the grappling lines. They don't fire first, they catch you. The ships kiss sides briefly, violently. The redcoats board, uniforms sharp, faces stone. You don't fight, most don't. A few try. The cook throws hot stew at one. It hits his hat. The man does not blink. They line you up on deck, count you, separate you, search you. They find your pistol, your rat, the silver coin from the parrot. You hand it all over. Then they chain your wrists. The captain doesn't speak, not yours, theirs. He just nods. One by one, you're loaded into their boat, rowed to their ship, the HMS Obedience, fitting. It smells like wax, gunpowder, and judgment. You're tossed in the hold, dark, cold, quiet except for breathing and crying, and someone whispering a hymn in a language you don't know. You try to sleep, you can't. You count the knots in the wall, think of your hammock, the sails, the parrot, the bell. Your pistol, gone. The next morning, you're fed, watered, dragged above deck. Land. You haven't seen land in weeks. It doesn't look how you remembered it. Too solid, too green. They march you through streets. People watch. Some boo, some stare. A child throws an apple. You miss your cabbage. Then the jail. You've heard of this place. Stone walls, iron bars, cold floors. The final stop before trial. And then, who knows? Historians still debate what pirate trials were like. Whether they were fair. Whether they were swift. Whether they ever weren't a foregone conclusion. But none of that matters now. You lie on a straw mat in a stone cell. The rat is gone. You hope it escaped, or stowed away, or leads a revolution now. The parrot? Unseen. Probably telling your secrets to strangers, hopefully loudly. You dream that night of the sea, of salt and sails and wind that didn't judge you. And when you wake, your wrists are sore, your legs stiff, your soul heavier. But you're still here, still, for now. The cell smells like mold and something older than regret. You're not sure how long you've been here. Time moves differently in jail. The days blur, the nights blend, and the stone walls offer nothing but silence and cold. Your straw mat has flattened into a crusty pancake. Your blanket could pass as a flag for disease. The guards don't speak much. When they do, it's either to curse or to count. Sometimes they count wrong. You don't correct them. Your name, when they say it, sounds wrong. Too neat, too clipped. They pronounce it like they're practicing law, not summoning a person. Today, they bring you out. You're marched through the corridors, feet clinking in chains, past cells that whisper. You think you see the cook in one. He raises a spoon in solemn salute. You nod. Outside, the sky is pale and uncaring. You squint. Sunlight hurts. The courthouse looms like it's holding its breath. You're taken inside, sat on a bench that creaks like it's never held anyone innocent. The other prisoners are quiet. One hums. Another shakes. One just stares at the floor, muttering numbers. Then they call your name. You stand, shuffle forward. The courtroom smells like paper and judgment. A magistrate peers down from his bench like he's trying to remember why this job stopped being fun. There are no jurors, just officers, scribes, and a few observers who look like they came for the spectacle. Your charges are read. Piracy, theft, assault upon the king's ships, possession of stolen property, knowingly sailing under false colors, disrupting maritime commerce, theft of sacred objects. Yes, the bell. The list goes on. At one point, you hear public endangerment by parrot. You blink. No one laughs. You are asked how you plead. You say nothing. They don't wait long. The evidence is ample. Witnesses are credible. Your ship was infamous. The letter of marque, fake. The captain, missing. The parrot, unavailable. You're asked if you have anything to say. You look up. The room stills. You speak. You don't defend yourself, not exactly. You talk about the sea, the ship, the code, the nights, the storms, the singing, the bleeding, the living. You say you weren't a hero, you say you weren't innocent. But you were loyal, you fought, you survived. You mention the church bell, people shift uncomfortably. You mention the rats, someone coughs. You mention the parrot. One of the scribes writes that down slowly. When you're done, The magistrate sighs like he's just remembered lunch. Sentence will be carried out in the morning. You're led away, not harshly, almost gently, like even they understand something just ended. Back in your cell, the quiet returns. You lie on your mat, staring at the ceiling. It's cracked. So are you. That night you dream of the morning lament, of wind and stars and sails so full they sang, of cabbage, of laughter, of your pistol, warm and certain in your palm. You dream of your rat, standing on the helm like a captain. You dream of the parrot whispering, "Still here." You wake before dawn. You're given a crust of bread, water, a moment. And when they come for you, you walk without resistance. Because this isn't defeat. It's the final part of the tale. And pirates always finish the tale. They dress you in clean clothes. Not new, just clean. White, stiff, loose at the wrists and rough at the collar. You feel like a ghost pretending to be someone noble. The guards don't speak. Their boots echo through the stone corridor like a clock, ticking down something sacred or irreversible. You walk. Not chained now, not forced, just led, gently, like you might wander off, like you've earned the courtesy of your own feet. The courtyard is smaller than you imagined. You've seen wider alleys. There's a scaffold, a rope, a bucket of sand. 2 guards, a priest, and a man chewing a sprig of mint like he's waiting for a dinner guest. You're the guest. A small crowd has gathered, not jeering, just watching. The curious, the loyal, the bored. They've come to see a pirate die. Historians still debate the rituals of pirate executions, whether last words were granted, whether mercy was ever given. But you don't need books. You're living it. The magistrate reads something. You don't listen. You're busy. Busy remembering the sway of the hammock, the cabbage stew, the bell, the parrot. You wonder where it is now, if it's watching from a rooftop, if it remembers your voice. You think of your rat, of lime slices and stolen spoons and poems left in biscuit tins. You step forward. The rope is coarse. It smells like smoke and old ships. The priest asks if you'd like to speak. You nod. You step up, look at the faces, not angry, just waiting. You clear your throat. I wasn't a good man, you begin. Wasn't a bad one either. I was just a man, on the sea, trying to make it. They listen. I stole. I lied. I did what I had to, and sometimes what I wanted to. But I never left a crewmate behind. I never ran from a storm, and I always split the rum fair. Someone laughs, a low chuckle, nervous, honest. You smile. I had a rat, a parrot, a pistol. I had a life. Pause. And if I had it again, I'd do it all over. You look up, the sky is gray, still, waiting. You step onto the box. Place your hands at your sides. The man with the mint nods once. And then the bell rings. Not nearby, not from a church, not from the gallows, but from above. Everyone looks up. The parrot, flying overhead, screeching wildly, flapping in wide circles, dragging something, a line of cloth, no one knows. It lands on the scaffold, screams, "Not today." Silence. Then the priest coughs. Shall we? No, says the magistrate, flat, cold. The hangman tugs the lever. The trap door opens. And snap. darkness. Then, light. Not real, not warm, but memory. Your hammock, your pistol, the rat, the parrot, the crew. The sea. Not heaven, not hell. Just the endless rolling blue of what came before. You breathe. And in some way you don't understand, you're free. You don't expect to wake up. But you do. Not with lungs full of air or light on your face. No. This waking is quieter, slower. Like the sea itself deciding to rock you one last time. You're not in the courtyard anymore. You're not sure where you are. The wood beneath you is old, familiar, worn smooth by boots and years and stories. It smells like salt, tar, and burnt cabbage. The sky above is purple-gray. The sails creak. The bell swings gently. You're back on the morning lament. Impossible. You sit up slowly. No chains, no gallows, no rope. The crew is there, all of them. Old Cobb, still chewing that piece of string. The quartermaster, arms crossed, eyeing you with that same half-amused scowl. The cook stirring something questionable in his pot. Even the sailmaster still favoring the leg that never quite healed right. You look around stunned. They nod at you like you just come back from shore leave. The parrot lands on your shoulder, says nothing. You check your belt. The pistol is there, loaded. The rat pokes its head from your coat, yawns, and curls back to sleep. Business as usual. You walk the deck. No one explains, because no one needs to. Historians still debate whether the stories of pirate ghosts are metaphor, madness, or something stranger. Ships sailing beyond the veil. Crews reunited in myth. Vessels that vanish and reappear with no one older, no one changed. But you don't debate. You just take the wheel. The wind fills the sails. The sun rises slow and red. No orders, no destination, just the open water and the sound of waves slapping wood like applause. Someone sings, a low hum at first, then more voices join in. The old shanty about bones and bells and what waits at the edge of the sea. You smile, because you know what waits now. It's not judgment, it's not peace. It's not punishment or reward. It's the sea, still cruel, still vast, but also home. And in that place between stories and silence, between storm and calm, between the hanging rope and the rat's breath, you sail, forever maybe, or just long enough. And if anyone ever asks what became of you, Boots the slightly less likely to die. There'll be stories, tales of a ghost ship, a pistol that never rusts, a rat that commands its own galley crew, a parrot that still, to this day, screams, "Not today," whenever the bell tolls. And if you listen close enough on a quiet night, you might just hear the creak of the morning lament passing by in the mist. Still sailing, still singing, still here. So here we are, not standing at the gallows, not beneath the cannon fire, not racing against a frigate or dangling from a cliff's edge with a treasure map between your teeth. No, we're here, floating, rocking gently on the low breath of the sea. Everything is slower now, softer. Even the wood beneath your back seems to sigh as you settle into it, as if the ship herself has finally relaxed. There's no rush, no schedule, Just the rhythm of the tide and the hush of wind through slack sails. The sails, they aren't working now. They're just hanging. Folds of old cloth fluttering lazily like flags that have long since stopped declaring anything. They don't need to. Not anymore. The ship isn't going anywhere. Not fast, at least. It doesn't have to. It's earned its rest. And so have you. Your hands, scarred, calloused, still faintly smelling of rope, lie still. For the first time in a long time, they're not tightening knots or loading powder or guarding something important. They're just resting. The pistol is there beside you. You don't need to grip it. Not now, not here. Just seeing it, feeling its weight on the blanket next to you is enough. You trust it. It trusts you. It's always been more than steel and flint. It was a companion, a statement, a promise. But not anymore. It can sleep now, too. And the rat, still here, of course, is curled up at your side like he's done 1,000 times before. Small breath rising and falling, tiny paw twitching every now and then as if he's dreaming of biscuits. You wonder what rats dream of. You hope it's something warm, something silly. Maybe a hammock all to himself in a kitchen with no cats. You reach out softly and stroke the fur behind his ear. He doesn't wake. He knows you. Knows you're not in danger. Knows the storm's past. The parrot? It's above you, roosting in the crook of the rigging. One eye open, one eye closed. Watching the sky like a tired sailor who's seen too much but still can't quite stop watching. It hasn't spoken in hours. You think maybe it's lost interest in swearing now that there's no one left to be shocked by it. Or maybe it's just peaceful. Imagine that, a peaceful parrot. You let your head rest back. The sky is overcast, not menacing, just dim, just quiet. The kind of sky that forgets how to storm. Somewhere beyond it, the sun still rises, still sets, still warms the earth. But here, today, it hides, letting the sea have its turn. And the sea, oh the sea, has become something else entirely. Not wild, not cruel, not even blue. Today it's gray, thick and soft, like wool soaked in silver. It rocks the ship in time with your breath. Or maybe you're breathing in time with it. You're not sure anymore. The difference feels unimportant. There's no land in sight, you're not worried. Land is for men with clocks and boots that don't squeak. For ledgers and sentences and fences. This is for you. You think about how far you've come. Not in miles, not in maps, but in days survived, in laughter shared, in lines carved into the wood under your hammock, each one a tally not of a battle or bounty, but of being here, still here. You remember when you first climbed aboard this ship, the nerves, the smells, the overwhelming press of salt and noise and names you didn't know yet. You remember the first meal, cabbage stew. You hated it, then tolerated it, then missed it when it was gone. You remember the first night you cleaned your pistol by lantern light, trembling fingers, stiff cloth, unsure of how close you were to doing it wrong. You remember the first time someone called you by name like it mattered. And you remember the day you stopped reaching for your knife before your boots. These were victories. You didn't always feel like a pirate, but you felt like something. and that something carried you through storm and fire and silence and singing. It wasn't gold that kept you alive. It wasn't luck. It was the code, the unspoken one, the one you wrote in the quiet moments, the one you followed when no one was watching. Treat the rat like a crewman. Feed the parrot even when it bites. Sharpen the blade even if you don't plan to use it. Share the biscuit if it's your last one. Sing even if you're off key. Especially then, you smile. The wind brushes your cheek like a goodbye you're not sad about. You can still hear voices, not loud, not real, just memories with volume. The quartermaster's gravel growl of a laugh, the cook muttering to himself in the galley, the clatter of dice, the slap of cards, the sound of boots on planks, angry and fast, followed by laughter and apology and the occasional splash. You don't miss the fights, but you do miss the fighting for each other. And you know now that that's what made it worth it. Not the fear, not the freedom, not even the sea, but the we of it, the shared madness, the chosen family, the knowing glances over boiling stew, the songs sung around broken barrels, the way everyone looked a little older when the sky cracked open and the storm told you your name. You shift slightly. The rat burrows deeper. The parrot, above, shuffles its feathers and tucks its beak beneath its wing. You don't need to go anywhere. You don't need to say anything. The world has already been said, and now it can be listened to. The waves tap the hull, gentle now. No more shouting, no more chasing. Just rhythm, just breath, just the slow, inevitable softening of everything that once had an edge. And in this soft place, in this hour with no number, you understand something simple. You lived, that's all. And that's everything. The breeze lifts, just enough to ripple a corner of sailcloth still clinging to the mast, worn and tired, but unwilling to let go. You watch it flicker like a memory trying to stay alive, like it still wants to catch the wind one last time, even if it doesn't know where it would take you. You smile. You're not in a hurry anymore. You walk the deck slowly, barefoot. Every board beneath your step hums something low and old. You know where every splinter lives, where every knot was tied too tight, where someone carved a heart and scratched it out, where a name once was. Yours, maybe. In the galley, the pot still hangs, empty now. But the smell of old stew clings to the wood like a bedtime story. The cook's apron is draped on a hook. You don't touch it. You let it hang there, like a flag of surrender, or a curtain over the stage. You pass the quartermaster's log, open to a page written long ago. You skim it. The ink is smudged. It just says, wind calm, crew restless, boots stole the good spoon again. You laugh, a soft, full laugh. It feels like it's been waiting. Outside, the sea is glass. Not a wave in sight. Only the slow breathing of water waiting for stars. And the stars are coming, one by one. The first shy light pricks through the clouds, then another, then 100 more. You lose count. They don't mind. Stars don't need counting. They just need watching. You sit on the rail, pistol in your lap, rat on your shoulder now. He twitches his nose. You offer a crumb from your pocket. He takes it. You think maybe you should name him. You never did. Maybe he didn't want one. The parrot lands near your feet, looks at the sky, cocks its head, doesn't speak. Not even not today, just silence. The kind that wraps around you like an old coat and says, "You're done. Well done." You lean back. Let your eyes close. You know every creak in the hull, every sigh in the rope, every scrape of feather and flick of tail. You know this ship the way you know your own breath, and it knows you. You think about the others, where they ended up. Some made landfall, bought farms, started inns, named goats after lost crewmates. Some were caught, like you, hung or pardoned or pressed into service. Some, maybe most, just vanished. One night they were there, laughing over cards, and by morning, a space in the hammock and a story left behind. You hope they're at peace. You hope, if nothing else, they remember the sea not for what it took, but for what it gave. Because it gave a lot. Gave mornings of quiet mist, nights of shared songs. Gave you limes when you thought you'd lose your teeth. Gave you rain when the barrel was empty. Gave you a rat, a parrot, a code, a reason to hold on. And now it gives you this, stillness. True stillness. Not silence, no, never silence, but that kind of hush where nothing needs to speak, because everything is. You think of your story, what they'll say. That you were a thief? Probably. That you were strange? Likely. That you wore one boot longer than anyone should have? Absolutely. But also that you were kind, that you sang off-key, that you shared your lime even when you didn't have to, that you let the parrot curse in court and didn't stop him, that you made a code of your own and stuck to it, even when no one else did. And in the end, that's enough. No gold, no statue, just a story, passed along, like a song hummed by someone who never knew you, but heard of the ship with the bell that rang on its own, with the pirate who never stopped looking at the stars, with the pistol that never rusted, with the rat that slept like a captain. The deck creaks, the sea lifts. Not much, just enough. The sail tugs once, and you let it. Where you're going, you don't need maps. You need only memory, only calm, only wind, so go ahead, close your eyes. Let your breath grow longer, slower. Let the sails fill, let the stars blur. Let your name become part of the whisper between waves. There's no more cabbage to eat, no code to write, no cannon to load, no rope to tie, or just this drift, this peace, this earned, final, precious quiet. You've done well, you've lasted, you've lived, and now you sail, beyond memory, beyond story, beyond even the sea, where all good pirates go eventually, where nothing aches, where every storm has passed, where you are not forgotten, where you are still here. You sailed the storm, you've cleaned the pistol, you've eaten the cabbage, the weevil biscuits, and somehow survived both the sea and yourself. You've whispered poems into hammocks, fought for breath in the salt-drenched dark, and slept beside rats, ghosts, and men who sing in their sleep. And now it's quiet. The sails no longer strain. The sky's a soft slate, neither day nor night, just the color of rest. The ship rocks gently beneath you, more cradle than coffin. Your feet, bare, calloused, light, no longer need to run. You walk the deck slowly, the old boards warm from some gentle, invisible sun. You pass the cannon, quiet now, like an old dog that no longer barks. You nod to the mast, tall and still proud, even after all it's weathered. You lean against the rail and let the sea speak to you. The wind hums, low and constant, not a warning, not a demand, just presence. The rat is curled in your coat. The parrot? Still loud, still watching, but softer now, like he, too, understands that there's no more need to shout. You close your eyes and listen to the distant clink of a spoon in a pot that doesn't boil anymore, to the echo of old laughter over a deck swept clean by time, to a voice, maybe yours, telling a story to someone who needed it, someone who still does. You remember the words scratched into the wood beneath your hammock, still here, and you smile, because you are. Not in a gallows ledger, not in a trial book, but in 1,000 stories told under blankets, in taverns, on quiet beaches where children whisper of ships with bells that ring by themselves. Maybe someone finds your pistol one day, buried in a chest on an island shaped like a foot. Maybe they wonder about the rat carved into the grip, the initials burned into the barrel. Maybe they follow your map, the one that was never real but always pointed somewhere. Maybe someone sings your shanty. Maybe they believe you were real, and that's enough, because pirates never truly die. They drift into tales, into dreams, into the hush between thunderclaps, into the heartbeats of those who know that a life lived without clean boots and pickled cabbage is only half a life. You take a breath, let it fill you, let it slow your heart, let it carry away the bruises, the battles, the rope burns and cannon soot, and all the nights you clutched steel like a promise. Let it carry you towards stillness. There is no bell this time, no parrot scream, just the hush of canvas and the sea humming to itself, as it always has. You lie down, close your eyes, let the cradle of the ship hold you. You are not waiting anymore. You are not hiding. You are not afraid. The sea remembers, and so do we. Good night, sailor. You made it.